long before your first breath. You were the architect of this life. None of this is random. You didn't just fall into this world by accident, tossed into chaos without a purpose. No, you chose to be here. You chose the joy, the heartbreak, the lessons, the losses. You chose the people who would love you, hurt you, awaken you, and break you wide open. Why? Because your soul carried a mission, a sacred contract, written in the language of light, etched outside of time. And yet, like so many, you forgot, not out of failure, but by design. For forgetting was the veil, so that remembering could become your great return. Now something inside you stirs, a quiet knowing, a voice whispering. You are not here just to survive. You are here to awaken, to remember who you truly are. And when you do, everything begins to make sense. You didn't forget by accident. You chose to forget, and that choice was made with purpose. When your soul crossed the threshold into this life, it passed through what ancient mystics and sages have long called the veil. It's not a physical curtain, it's a metaphysical filter, a boundary between dimensions, between the infinite knowing of the soul and the temporary blindness of the human experience. On the other side of that veil, you remembered everything: your past lifetimes, your soul family, your higher self, and most importantly, the reason you came here. But to truly live this life as a human, you had to forget. Because without forgetting, there's no true free will, no real choice, no authentic discovery. Knowing all the answers before you begin would strip the meaning from every lesson. So, you stepped into this incarnation with amnesia, not because you were tricked, but because you were brave. Forgetting isn't a curse. It's a feature of the design. It allows you to stumble, to feel lost, to question. It creates the space for self-realization. Because the truth is, remembering is far more powerful than simply knowing. When you remember something from deep within, it awakens a cellular recognition that no external information ever could. And that's the journey you've already begun. The longing you feel, that restless ache inside you, that's your soul knocking from the other side of the veil. It's not asking for more information. It's asking you to remember what you already know. But the veil isn't just one single moment. It doesn't happen only at birth and then fade. It's maintained constantly by the distractions of this world, by the systems, the routines, the conditioning. You're trained from day one to look outside yourself for answers, to trust what can be seen, measured, and explained. And yet, your deepest truths will never be found in a textbook or lecture. They live in your intuition, your instincts, your dreams, and your gut feeling. The veil is held in place by disbelief, by the stories that say, "This is all there is." Break that belief, and the veil begins to lift. And here's the irony. Everything that makes you feel like you're off track is actually trying to bring you back. The cycles, the chaos, the repeating emotional loops, they're not punishments, they're breadcrumbs, triggers from the contract you wrote long ago. And as if begin to notice the patterns, as you start questioning the roles you play, the people you attract, and the fears that revisit you year after year, you are pulling on the threads of memory. Slowly, the veil thins. You see flashes, you feel nudges, you remember, not with your mind, but with your soul. And if you're ready to go deeper, there's more than we can share here. Some truths aren't meant for public platforms. That's why we created the Insights Academy, our free newsletter, where we share hidden knowledge too confidential for YouTube. When you sign up using the link below, you'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion, but only for a limited time, because the deeper you remember, the more everything changes. Suddenly, your life stops feeling random. The struggle gains meaning. The delays start to make sense. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You realize the people who challenge you most were written into your script with precision. They are soul collaborators, not villains. Even your pain becomes sacred when you remember that you chose it for your evolution. Nothing is wasted. This is the beginning of your return, not to some new idea, but to your original essence. You've never truly been lost. You've just been covered, forgotten, not broken. Your contract is still there, etched into your being, waiting for you to wake up and pick up the pen again. And the moment you do, you stop being a passenger in your story. You become the author, once more. Your life has been whispering to you since the beginning. The question is, have you been listening? Most people look for signs in grand gestures, miracles, coincidences that defy logic, dreams that leave you shaken. But the truth is, the signs from your soul contract are often subtle, woven into the fabric of your daily experience, like background music you've forgotten how to hear. They live in the tension of your relationships, the emotions you can't quite explain, the job that keeps draining you no matter how much you earn. You don't need to search the stars for guidance. It's already here. It's always been here. You were never left without a map. Your soul scattered breadcrumbs throughout your journey, clues you placed before birth to help guide you back when you began to drift. The problem is, society trained you to ignore them. From an early age, you were told what's logical, what's practical, what's realistic. But your soul doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in patterns, feelings, repetition, and synchronicities. That friend you kept bumping into across different cities. The numbers you see every time you think about quitting your job. The déjà vu that grips you in an unfamiliar place. These aren't accidents. They're echoes, memory triggers. Your contract isn't lost. It's playing out all around you. Start with your patterns. What experiences keep showing up in your life? Wearing different clothes, but carrying the same energy. Maybe it's betrayal. Maybe it's abandonment. Maybe it's never quite feeling enough. No matter what you achieve, these patterns are not punishments. They're portals. Each time they reappear, they ask you the same question. Are you ready to see what this is really about? The mistake we make is personalizing them, thinking we are flawed, cursed, or broken. But your soul doesn't waste pain. If something keeps cycling, it means the lesson is still alive, still waiting to be integrated. And then there are the people, the ones who ignite you, the ones who trigger you, and the ones you can't seem to shake, no matter how far you run. These people are not random. They are soul allies, some playing the role of guide, others as mirror, and some as sacred disruptors. You agreed to meet them, to exchange energy, to challenge each other into awakening. Your soul contract includes not just your path, but the souls who would walk it with you, even those who hurt you, especially them. Because often the deepest soul growth comes through the wounds that force you to wake up. Pay attention to your emotional triggers. They're not signs of weakness. They're signposts pointing to places within you that are still unresolved. If your soul didn't care, it wouldn't react. But when something stings or breaks you open, it's a knock at the door of your memory. Remember, it says, this is part of the lesson. And then there are the dreams, the nightly journeys that sometimes feel too vivid to be fiction. That recurring figure, the ancient place you've never visited, the symbols that won't leave your mind. Dreams are one of the few times your conscious mind gets out of the way long enough for your soul to speak directly. The teachings view dreams not as random, but as portals to higher wisdom. Night after night, you're given the opportunity to access fragments of your original agreement, if you're willing to remember them when you wake. But remembering isn't about collecting clues like a scavenger hunt. It's about pattern recognition, emotional resonance, and willingness to feel. Because the soul doesn't speak English or Spanish or any other language taught in school. It speaks in feeling, in knowing, in presence. The more you slow down, the more you pay attention, the louder the signs become. The universe doesn't shout, it waits. And when you finally say, I'm ready, it speaks in ways that cannot be unheard. Your soul has been in conversation with you this entire time. Through the songs that move you, the books that shake you, the words you needed to hear at the exact moment you heard them. This isn't a coincidence. It's design. It's a memory disguised as serendipity. Your contract isn't hiding in the stars. It's written into your life. And once you start seeing the signs for what they are, you stop feeling like a victim of circumstance. You start remembering you're the author of it all. There's a voice inside you that never stops speaking. It's been there since the beginning, soft, steady, unshaken by the noise of the world. You might call it intuition, inner knowing, gut feeling, but what it truly is memory, not the kind you store in your brain, but the kind that lives in your soul, the memory of your original agreement, the memory of who you were before the world told you who to be. And no matter how loud the world gets, that voice never disappears. It waits patiently for you to get quiet enough to hear it again. You were never meant to navigate this life blindly. The veil of forgetting was part of the design. Yes, but so was the roadmap back. And Thoth, the ancient scribe of the gods, the keeper of wisdom, left behind keys to that roadmap. Not just metaphorical ideas, but living techniques. His teachings weren't dusty relics. They were instructions for remembering, methods to help you step out of the noise of conditioning and re-enter the frequency of your higher self, the part of you that helped write the contract in the first place. Start here. Your intuition is not random. It's not a nice-to-have or a spiritual luxury. It is your direct line to the soul. When you get that inexplicable feeling not to take a job, not to trust someone, not to go down a certain path, even when logic says otherwise, that's not fear. That's your soul tapping you on the shoulder. And when you feel inexplicably drawn to something, a symbol, a practice, a person you've just met, that's not coincidence. That's the contract stirring beneath the surface, pushing you toward your alignment. But to truly remember, you need to go deeper beyond the surface of emotion and logic, into the stillness beneath. This is where Thoth, method, becomes a gateway. His teachings were always rooted in the Hermetic principle. As above, so below. As within, so without. To remember the contract, you must first create space. Within. Space that allows the wisdom to rise from your own depths, not from someone else's doctrine. One of the most powerful tools. Regressive meditation. Not simply relaxing or visualizing calm beaches, but deep inner journeys that allow you to travel backward through memory, not just from this lifetime, but beyond it. Guided by intention, these meditations allow you to bypass the conscious mind and enter the archive of your soul. Here, you don't learn, you remember, you reconnect. You revisit the moment before your birth, when you sat with guides, with light beings and planned out the key milestones of your earthly path. These experiences are not fantasies. They're encoded truths buried under layers of distraction. Another method rooted in Thoth's wisdom is symbolic dream work. Every symbol in your dream has a frequency, a message coded in metaphor. Water isn't just water. A staircase isn't just a staircase. These are signatures from the soul, invitations to decode the messages left behind. Keep a dream journal, not to analyze with logic, but to spot patterns, themes, and emotional threads. Over time, you'll begin to notice what your higher self is trying to tell you. The soul often speaks in symbols because the ego cannot manipulate them. And perhaps the most overlooked yet most potent form of remembrance, solitude. In a world that profits off your distraction, stillness becomes rebellion, silence becomes sacred. When you sit alone, not to scroll or to plan, but to listen, you give your soul the space to speak. Answers won't come instantly, but they will come slowly at first. A sentence here, a memory there, and then, like a puzzle, the pieces begin to click into place. Not because you're discovering something new, but because you're remembering something ancient. This is the sacred work, and it's not always comfortable, because remembering means confronting everything that pulled you away, the false identities, the roles you were forced to play, the expectations you internalized. You must be willing to let those masks fall, to strip away the noise and meet yourself again, not as the world shaped you, but as you truly are. The path of remembering doesn't require you to find something outside yourself. It requires you to trust what's always been within. Your intuition is your map. Your dreams are your compass. And Thoth's teachings, if approached with sincerity, are your key. You don't need a guru. You don't need someone to save you. You only need to remember who wrote this life in the first place. You did, And everything you need to remember that truth has been with you all along. It's easy to look at your life and feel like it's just a series of random events, a string of highs and lows, wins and losses, people coming and going, and pain arriving uninvited. But what if the chaos wasn't chaos at all? What if the very patterns you've been trying to escape, the emotional loops, the setbacks, the things you just can't seem to fix, are actually coded messages from your soul, calling you to remember something deeper? That's the power of the soul contract. It doesn't just speak in words, it speaks in experiences. Repetition is one of its most powerful languages. If you keep encountering the same kind of heartbreak, conflict, disappointment, or limitation, it's not a punishment. It's a portal, a marker, something your soul built into your path so you would be forced to pay attention. These aren't problems to erase. They're invitations to evolve. You didn't come here to avoid the pain. You came here to transmute it, because within that struggle is the exact lesson your soul intended to master before you ever arrived on this planet. That's the blueprint. Not a perfectly planned life, with no friction, but a deliberately designed path filled with specific challenges, meant to awaken specific aspects of your being. Thoth's method teaches us that truth hides inside repetition. The Hermetic principle of rhythm reminds us that everything moves in cycles, rise and fall, in and out, light and dark. So if something keeps showing up in your life, it's not a glitch, it's the rhythm playing out. But most people see the same relationship failing again and again and think they're broken. They see the same career block or emotional trigger and assume they're cursed. But the truth is far more empowering. Your soul planted these loops like breadcrumbs, each one pointing you back to a part of yourself that's been suppressed, forgotten, or ignored. Think back. What have you struggled with most consistently in your life? Is it abandonment, rejection, powerlessness, shame? Those recurring wounds are not flaws in your journey. They're features that serve one purpose: growth. And the moment you stop running from them and start listening to them, the moment you see them not as curses but clues, everything begins to shift. The pain doesn't disappear overnight, but it transforms. Because now, it's not meaningless, it's meaningful. This is what Thoth would call self-recovery, the act of remembering your soul by walking back through the fire of your own life. Not bypassing it, not numbing it, but owning it fully, courageously. Ritual can help create a sacred space, not because it's mystical, but because it signals to your subconscious that you are ready to stop surviving and start remembering. Light a candle, close your eyes, ask the question, where am I repeating what I came here to master? Then sit, listen, and write. Patterns are revealed, not when we analyze them, but when we honor them. The truth is, your contract isn't hidden in some distant temple or ancient scroll. It's woven into the very fabric of your days. It lives in the people who trigger you, the choices you regret, the talents you've ignored, and the voice inside that says there's more. Most people avoid these signals because they think pain means something's wrong, but the soul knows better. Pain is not the enemy, it's the messenger. And once you stop numbing the messenger, the message comes through loud and clear. So if you feel like you've been stuck in the same place, fighting the same demons, watching the same movie play out in different scenes, take a step back. Ask yourself, what if this is exactly what I came here to face? What if these challenges are the path, not the detour? What if healing isn't about erasing the past, but remembering the purpose behind it? You are not being punished. You are being called. The struggle you face is the very struggle you chose, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to face it, to master it, and eventually to help others do the same. That is soul evolution. That is the wisdom of the contract. And it doesn't begin with fixing your life. It begins with understanding it. From that understanding, power returns. And with it the memory of why you came. Before you ever entered this life, your soul selected tools, unique capabilities, perspectives, inclinations, gifts meant to serve you on your path. But the world you were born into didn't know how to recognize them. In fact, it probably taught you to distrust them. You were born curious, expressive, full of feeling and wild wonder, and very early on, those traits were labeled too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, too weird, too intense. And slowly, piece by piece, the world began to clip away at the raw material of who you are. You weren't being trained to trust yourself, you were being trained to fit in. But here's the truth, the things you were shamed for, the quirks they told you to outgrow, the obsessions they called distractions, they were never flaws, they were fingerprints, markers of your soul contract, evidence of the exact character you chose to play in this grand cosmic play. You weren't supposed to be like everyone else, because your mission isn't like everyone else's. The blueprint for your life isn't etched in job titles, university degrees, or neat little 5-year plans. It's embedded in your joy, your childhood fascinations, your irrational pull towards certain ideas, places, or crafts. The things you can't explain but feel deeply drawn to. Those are the compass points of your mission. Think back to when you were young. What did you lose hours doing? What lit you up without needing praise or reward? Maybe it was drawing, storytelling, helping others, being in nature, building things, taking things apart, solving puzzles, imagining entire worlds in your mind. None of that was random. Those weren't just hobbies, they were signposts. You weren't being entertained, you were remembering. When life feels off track, it's usually because you've drifted away from those original energies you came here to embody. Even the traits people criticized in you, maybe your sensitivity, your intensity, your independence, your empathy, weren't weaknesses, they were weapons of awakening. You were given those for a reason. You might not see it yet, but the very parts of you the system tried to suppress are the exact traits you'll need to fulfill your contract. And the further you drift from them, the more disconnected life feels. That's why so many people feel like they're failing even when they've done everything right. Followed the script, earned the titles, secured the praise, but something still feels missing, because they're living a life designed by the world, not the one designed by their soul. The irony is society rewards uniformity, but craves originality. It sells individuality, but punishes the real thing. So we edit ourselves. We trade authenticity for approval. We box up our wildness and bury our intuitive gifts. But just because you've forgotten your gifts doesn't mean they're gone. They've just gone underground, waiting for your permission to surface again. And here's the shift. The more you align with those innate gifts, the more your life flows. Resistance fades. Synchronicity accelerates. Decisions become easier. Energy returns. Opportunities begin appearing without force. Why? Because you're no longer fighting your design. You're finally honoring it. Your soul didn't come here to copy-paste someone else's version of success. It came here to express something only you can express. That might look unconventional. It might make people uncomfortable, but that's exactly the point. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be powerful. And the most dangerous thing to the system is a person who knows their purpose and trusts their gifts. So stop asking if your passion is practical. Stop wondering if your art matters, or if your truth is too much. It does matter. It's everything. Your gifts are not distractions from your life. They are the path to your life. The tools you chose before birth, knowing exactly what challenges you'd face and what medicine you'd carry, and no one can take them from you. But you have to claim them. Start small. Revisit the things you used to love before the world told you who to be. Follow the threads of your curiosity. Let your joy lead for once. Because joy isn't a luxury. It's a lighthouse pointing you back to yourself and to the mission you came here to complete. The moment you stop waiting for permission to be yourself, you'll realize you never needed it. You're not late. You're not lost. You're just remembering. There is a place beyond time, beyond language, beyond the limits of your 5 senses, a field of knowledge so vast, so intimate, that it holds not only the story of this life, but of every life your soul has ever lived. It's called the Akashic Records. You might have heard the name whispered through ancient texts or modern spiritual circles, but don't mistake it for metaphor. This library exists not in some far-off corner of the cosmos, but inside you, encoded in your energy, accessible through your consciousness. And whether you realize it or not, you've already been there. Every time you get a strong sense of déjà vu, every time you feel unexplainably drawn to a place, a culture, a person, every time your intuition whispers a truth that logic can't explain, that's a footstep in the Akashic fields. Because your soul doesn't just carry memories, it carries knowledge, contracts, choices, consequences. And while your conscious mind may forget, the deeper layers of your being never do. That's where Thoth, ancient wisdom, comes in, not to teach you something new, but to remind you of what you already know. According to the Hermetic teachings, the Akashic records are not mystical myth, they are structure, law, memory, woven into the fabric of the universe. Everything you think, feel, do and desire, every intention, every word, every step is recorded, but not judged. The Akasha doesn't punish, it simply reflects, a mirror for the soul to understand itself more deeply through its own story. That means your soul contract isn't just theory, it's written there, and it can be read, accessed, understood, not by a priest or a guru, by you. The first step isn't belief, it's resonance. You don't try to reach the records, you align with them through intention, presence, purity of purpose. The Akashic field isn't unlocked through effort, it responds to sincerity. That's why those who seek it from ego or curiosity alone often walk away empty-handed, but those who come with a hunger for truth, a willingness to see themselves fully, they start receiving through dreams, through symbols, through intuitive knowing. Because the records don't always speak in words, they speak in patterns, and they never lie. When you begin to align with your contract, life starts feeling strangely familiar, as if you're retracing steps you planned long ago. You'll start meeting people you feel like you've known forever. You'll encounter opportunities that click into place like pieces of a forgotten puzzle. You'll feel your soul pulling you not toward the easy path, but the right one, the one that challenges and liberates you all at once. And sometimes in deep meditation or even silence, you'll get a flash, a memory, a visual, a phrase that doesn't feel like imagination. It feels like remembering. This isn't fantasy. This is ancient technology. The Egyptian mystics understood it. So did the Vedic seers and Gnostic sages. The Akashic records aren't just spiritual poetry. They are blueprints. And in them lies your original intention for this life. Why you came, what you came to learn, who you came to meet, what karmic loops you chose to close, what gifts you agreed to share, and what parts of your shadow you came to integrate, not avoid. But here's the deeper truth. Remembering your soul contract isn't just about accessing hidden information. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle it, because the more truth you carry, the more responsibility you hold, not in a burdensome way, but in a sacred way. To remember is to reclaim power, and power, real power, isn't control, it's clarity, it's presence, it's knowing who you are and why you're here, even when the world forgets. So if you feel the call to uncover your records, start with silence, not to empty your mind, but to listen beyond it. Ask the questions your soul has been avoiding. Be still long enough to hear the answer rise, not from your thoughts, but from the space behind them. Don't expect lightning bolts. Sometimes the most powerful truths arrive as whispers, as feelings that echo deeper than language. This is not just mysticism, it's memory. This is your soul giving you back what was always yours. You are not locked out of your own story. You simply stopped reading, but the page is still open, and your soul is waiting. Every person in your life, yes, every single one, is there for a reason. Not just the ones who lift you up, but also the ones who tear you down. The ones who make you feel seen, and the ones who make you question your worth. Some are here to guide you, some are here to test you, and some are here to wake you up. These aren't random encounters. They're soul agreements, sacred contracts formed long before you were born. Not with ink, but with intention. And while your conscious mind may forget, your soul never does. You've met before, in other lives, in other bodies. Not always with the same face or role, but with the same essence. In this lifetime, you made agreements with these souls to meet again at just the right moment, in just the right way. Some came to teach you love, others came to teach you boundaries, and some came to break your heart wide open. Not to hurt you, but to reveal the deeper wounds you promised yourself you'd finally heal. That's the uncomfortable truth. The people who trigger you the most are often the ones your soul trusted the most. Look at your life. Who keeps showing up in patterns? Who challenges your growth again and again? These aren't accidents. They are echoes of old contracts still playing out. You begin to see relationships through this lens. Everything shifts. Conflict becomes a mirror, not a weapon. Pain becomes a signal, not a punishment. Choose stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to awaken in me? That question is power. That question is healing. Thoth's wisdom reminds us that nothing external exists without its internal reflection. What you attract, you align with. That includes people. That includes every soulmate, karmic tie, twin flame or silent teacher you've encountered. And once you understand that, you stop reacting from the wound and start responding from the contract. You realize not every soulmate is meant to stay forever. Some arrive to push you into your next evolution. Some love you so deeply that they agree to play the villain in your story, just so you'll remember how to reclaim your power. This isn't about spiritualizing abuse or justifying harmful behavior. It's about perspective. It's about reclaiming agency over your story and understanding that even chaos can serve clarity. When you realize that your biggest heartbreak held the blueprint for your greatest breakthrough, you begin to forgive. Not to excuse, but to release. Because resentment is a chain. But understanding, that's the key. And it's not just the hard relationships. Think about the people who feel like home, the ones you meet and instantly click with, like you've known them for lifetimes. You have. These are the soul allies. Those who signed up to remind you of your truth when you forgot. They show up at turning points. They say exactly what you needed to hear. They light a fire under your purpose. These aren't coincidences. They're soul rendezvous, carefully orchestrated in the blueprint of your life's design. And then, of course, there are the ones you haven't met yet. But your soul knows they're coming. They're drawn to the version of you that's still awakening. The more you align with your soul contract, the more magnetic you become to those who are part of it. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to convince anyone. When you walk your path, the right souls appear, because you agreed to meet on that path, not off it. This is why healing matters. Not just for you, but for the clarity it brings to your relationships. When you heal the wounds, you stop repeating the lessons. You stop attracting the same tests in different bodies. You graduate from old agreements and open space for new ones. Agreements that are built on growth, purpose, and shared evolution. So the next time someone tests your patience, breaks your heart, or challenges your worth, pause, look deeper. Ask yourself, what did I agree to learn here? That question alone can dissolve lifetimes of confusion. You'll see the faces differently. You'll hear the words differently. You'll respond with a wisdom that doesn't belong to your age, but to your soul. Because relationships aren't just emotional. They're spiritual. They are where your contract gets activated. The loud, and if you dare to look closely enough, you'll find that every significant connection in your life has been a whisper from your soul, reminding you of what you came here to learn, who you came here to be, and the sacred journey you agreed to walk together. You were never meant to forget forever. The forgetting was part of the process. But the remembering, that's the awakening. And now that the veil is thinning, now that your eyes are opening to the patterns, the whispers, the signs, it's time to ask the question you've been avoiding your whole life. Why did I come here? Because when you remember your purpose, you don't just understand your past. You reclaim your future. Your soul didn't sign up for mediocrity. It didn't incarnate to tick boxes, chase status, and quietly fade out of existence. You came here with a mission so precise, so personal, that only you could fulfill it. And it was never supposed to look like anyone else's. That's the lie they sold you, that your worth is measured by how closely you follow a script written by a society that forgot its own soul. But your blueprint was authored in a higher realm. Your signature is written in the stars, not on a resume. Every time you felt like something was missing, like you were living someone else's life, that was your soul tugging at the edges of your memory. Every moment of dissatisfaction wasn't failure. It was feedback. It was your contract reminding you that you're off track, that you've been chasing things you never actually wanted, that you've been living by rules you never agreed to. But the truth is, you don't need to find your purpose. It's already inside you, buried under the noise, sleeping under the conditioning. It's not something you achieve. It's something you remember. Thoth teachings speak of the divine archive, the sacred records encoded in your being. The method isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming who you were before the world told you who to be. It begins with silence, with listening, with daring to go inward, to sit with the uncomfortable questions, to peel away the masks. Your purpose is not a career or a title or a role. It's a vibration, a frequency, a way of being in the world that only you can embody. And here's the thing, your soul contract isn't fixed. It evolves as you do. It was written with freedom in mind, not fate. There are core themes, yes, certain lessons you chose, certain people you planned to meet, certain experiences you agreed to face. But the paths you take to fulfill those themes, those are yours to choose. This isn't a prison, it's a canvas. And when you begin to align with your true essence, your choices begin to shift. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop seeking permission and start giving yourself the authority to create. Think of your natural gifts, the ones that come so easily you almost overlook them. That's no accident. They are the tools your soul packed for this journey. Your childhood curiosities, your creative impulses, your emotional depth, your unique way of seeing the world. These are not quirks, they are clues. They are the trail markers leading you back to your mission. The more you follow them, the more your life begins to unfold in synchronicities and aligned opportunities. And the less you follow them, the louder the dissonance grows. Pain becomes resist, burnout becomes feedback. Confusion becomes the cost of ignoring your deeper knowing. But the moment you stop and listen to your intuition, to your dreams, to the soul-level longing that no external success can silence, that's when things begin to realign. That's when you remember that your mission isn't something to be found in the world, but something to be activated from within. And if you've been feeling stuck, lost, or disconnected, know this: you're not broken. You're just being invited back to your path. And remembering your contract is the first step toward rewriting the story. Not the story the world gave you, but the one your soul has been trying to tell since the beginning. It's already in you, waiting, whispering, ready to be heard. You don't need to become anyone else. The truth is, who you are underneath the programming, the noise, the doubt, that's the person the world has been waiting for. Your soul didn't incarnate into this lifetime to be a passive observer or a background character in someone else's story. You came here with a sacred purpose that only you can fulfill, in a way that only you can do it. That's the real meaning of a soul contract. Not obligation, but opportunity. And the sooner you remember that, the sooner you begin to reclaim your power. You may think that your life has gone off course, that you've missed your chance, or wasted too much time, but that's not how the soul sees it. Every detour, every heartbreak, every job you hated, or relationship that fell apart, they weren't mistakes, they were messages. Each one was placed in your path not to punish you, but to prepare you. You're not late, you're right on time. And if you're hearing this now, it's because your soul is ready, ready to stop running from your calling, ready to stop dimming your light, ready to stop pretending you don't know why you're here. The world you were born into made it easy to forget. It's designed that way, engineered to distract you, to condition you, to train you into playing small. You were told to be realistic, to follow the rules, to fit in. But your soul contract never included those terms. That pressure to conform, that constant tug-of-war between what feels true and what feels safe, that's the friction between the life you were taught to live and the one you were born for. And the only way through it is to choose truth. Your truth. You'll know you're getting closer when the outside noise starts to lose its grip on you, when the opinions of others stop holding so much weight, when you start valuing your peace over approval, your alignment over attention. Because purpose isn't loud. It's not always grand or glamorous. Sometimes it's a quiet knowing, a subtle pull, a sense of rightness that doesn't need validation. It just is. And once you remember that, the chaos around you starts to fall away, not because the world has changed, but because you have. And when that remembering turns into action, when you start living in alignment with what you know to be true, life begins to flow. You meet the right people. You find yourself in the right place, at the right time. You notice synchronicities that feel too precise to be chance. That's your contract activating. That's your higher self saying, yes, this is it. And even when challenges come, they no longer feel like punishment. They feel like refinement. Like the universe shaping you into who you came here to be. If you've made it this far, you already know something inside you has shifted. And now it's time to go deeper. Not everything we uncover can be shared here publicly. Some knowledge is simply too sacred, too disruptive, or too powerful for platforms like this. That's why we created Insights Academy, a free newsletter where we share the deeper truths they don't want you to know. For a limited time, you'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion when you sign up. One of the most potent hermetic texts in history. You'll find the link in the description. All it takes is your email, and you're in. Don't scroll past this because your awakening is still unfolding. The system depends on your forgetfulness. But your soul, it only thrives in truth. This is your call to rise, to break through the illusion, to remember the mission that only you were born to complete. It's not too late. You're not too lost. The very fact that you're still here, still listening, still searching, is the sign you've been waiting for. The mission is already in motion. If this message stirred something in you, share it. Drop a comment. We want to hear your voice in this awakening.